Today's going to be an interesting video, and I'm going to talk about the secret to achieving the highest rank in your competitively ranked games, more specifically, video games. So, I feel like this advice is actually extremely accurate, and if you follow it to a T, then you will achieve whatever rank you want to achieve in your video game of choice. So, I'm not the best gamer in the world, but I have some merit to the things I've accomplished. So, for the first example is, my first FPS game was Overwatch. I was able to hit very close to masters in that game. In Fortnite, I didn't really play competitively, but I was pretty good. In Valorant, I've hit Immortal, and in Hearthstone, which is a card game, I've hit top 500 in North America. And in order to keep myself accountable, this season for Valorant, I'm going to hit my peak of my entire career, and I'm going to plan to hit Immortal 2. Okay. And if I do it, I'll post it here and show that I've completed this challenge. But I'm going to use the tips that I'm going to share to you today. So there are three important kind of objectives you have to keep in mind. So the first one is game knowledge. So game knowledge is important because this kind of comes with how much you have played the game. The more you play the game, the more you'll know about the game, the ins and outs, and the kind of slight ways you can get edges in your opponent's against your opponent, so that you can win like rounds. Because most games are split up into rounds, and the more rounds you win the game. For League, maybe it's a little bit different, where you just have to kill the opponent's big ass crystal at the end. I don't really know. I haven't really played League much. So you have game knowledge, then you have mechanics, and then last is your mental state. So all three of these in tandem need to be at their peak performance in order for you to give your peak performance in game for your team. If your mental state is off, then the other two collapse as well. If your game sense is garbage, then the other two collapse as well. And if your mechanics are bad, then the other two collapse again. So you need to have all three at their peak. And I feel like mental state is actually the most important one. And I'll give an example why. So when I first started playing Valorant, I was extremely stuck around high gold to low plat. And multiple times, whenever I got into loss streaks, I would kind of lose my mental and get really angry, and I would keep losing and losing and losing, and then I'd have like a streak of 12 lost games. And you may think that these 12 lost games were like, oh, they're just always going to be lost, and it's just a lost streak, it just happens. But actually, out of those 12 games, I'm sure there were at least half of them which were actually winnable if I had a good mental state and played well. So you have to keep in consideration the fact that your mental state is very important to the outcome of the game, because your mental state determines how well you play. And a lot of competitive games are very momentum based. So if you lose your momentum on your team, then the enemy team can gain momentum and completely close out the game. So the important part about keeping a good mental is also understanding this rule that I've learned. I forgot who I learned it from, but it's called the 33% rule. And it's not completely accurate, but I feel like it's a very, very good thing to keep in mind, because it kind of puts things into perspective. So you'll have those games where you automatically win, right? 33% of the time, let's say you automatically win those games. Then you have 33% of games which you automatically lose. So those ones you can't really deal with. The ones that you auto lose, those ones are actually still winnable, but you have to play like a god or something for your current skill level. And then 33% of the games are determined on you, right? It's easy to blame your teammates, but at the end of the day, in the long run, it's going to be your performance which determines your rank. You can't ever blame it on your teammates, because it all evens out in the end. You're going to have really good teammates and really bad teammates equally. So given that you win the games where 33% of the time you automatically win, and 33% of the time are determined by you and you win those, then you're winning 66% of your games if you think about it. And again, this is not completely accurate, but let's say you even win like 27% of the, or even like if you win like 27% of the games instead of like 33% of the games that are determined on you, that's still 60% win rate, right? You're still doing crazy well. And again, that's not completely accurate, but you only need like a 55% win rate to see active progress, maybe a little bit more. The lower your win rate, of course, the more games it's going to take. But again, it's about grinding the games out. What I've learned in competitive games is that you have to think long term, because if you do have a win rate that's above 50%, you just have to grind out the games to have that win rate show on your rank, right? So mental state's very important. Next, mechanics. Mechanics is also important because, of course, you need good mechanics to play well at your rank. And mechanics are going to be something that just come with practice. You have to practice these mechanics over and over again to get them as good as you can. And the more you practice them, the better you get. I'm a firm believer that anyone can achieve the highest rank in their video game of choice given enough time. And the time will vary person to person, but I feel like anyone can actually achieve like top 500 in any competitive game. I truly believe that. They just have to put their mind to it. And then the last one is game sense or game knowledge. And this one also comes with time. But this one just comes with a little bit of practice, but mostly just getting used to the game and playing more and more hours on that game. So if you incorporate these three things and make sure that they're at the highest level they can be for whatever game you're playing, then you'll continuously improve the more hours you put in, and you'll achieve the rank you want to achieve after a certain amount of time. So the way I play my competitive games is I never care about how well my teammates are doing. It's never about them. It's always about my own personal performance. I make sure I'm contributing to the team. I'm making sure I'm getting my kills in because I play Valorant. Make sure I'm getting the picks that the team needs to win the rounds and playing the best I can and always using my utility. And because of this, my mental state never gets into jeopardy. I know a lot of people who Valorant exhausts them. Playing a couple games of Valorant, maybe 2 or 3 games, it mentally exhausts their mind. They just like, okay, after 2 or 3 games of comp, I'm done, right? It's just too much. I can play like infinitely. The reason why I can play infinitely is because I don't let the outcome of the game ruin my mental state or change it at all. I'm playing just to have fun, really, because that's the thing that matters at the end of the day, is having fun in the video game you're playing. And this kind of goes hand in hand with your mental state. If you're having fun playing a video game that you enjoy, you're going to have a good mental and you're going to play well. So it's a win-win scenario, right? So I never let, losing a round really get to me, unless it's a round that I really could have won. Then I'm like, dude, like that really sucks. You could have won the round, but I don't dwell on it for too long. I try not to. Of course, I'm human. That's not always going to happen. But in general, I'm never blaming my teammates. If anything, I'm blaming myself, right? And if you do that and you take accountability for the loss in rounds, then I feel like you're inevitably going to improve in Valorant or whatever competitive game you want to play. So yeah, give this a try. And again, I feel like in terms of splits, I'd say it's like a 20-20-60 split. 20% is game knowledge. Okay, maybe not 20-20. Maybe it's probably like a 30-30-40 split. Yeah, 30% is game knowledge, 30% is mechanics, 40% is mental. Because mental, I feel like, is the most important in terms of games. If you always get triggered and you get angry and you start losing and losing and losing, then it's not going to look good for you. You're just going to keep losing. And on the games that have the potential to be won, you're going to get frustrated and lose those ones as well. So yeah, give this a try. And if I do keep my word, I will hit Immortal 2 by the end of the season. And if I do, I will tell you guys I did and maybe post a picture on this channel. And yeah, let's see if I hit it.